Mayor Mark Boughton with Your Answers with Ethan and Lou on I-95.
Hey, Mark.
What's up?
Gentlemen, how are you? Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you, as always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing going on in Danbury.
It seems like we have one item on the agenda, and this is the protests kicking off tomorrow in Danbury. I believe they start at noon. I forget where. Why don't you tell us what we can expect from the city? I mean, I guess there's no good way to phrase this question. What are you expecting? How are you going to handle it? Go ahead.
Well, I think we start with the premise that protesting is as American as it comes, right? I mean, this country was formed on protesting. So certainly I absolutely applaud these young people who put this together. And I think they're, correct in their concerns as it relates to George Floyd and that horrible situation in Minneapolis. So, I'm with them. Having said all that, some of the protests in some of the very large cities have morphed into riots, and there's a difference between a protest and a riot. So we're ready and willing and able to support a protest and help people express their First Amendment rights. We are adamantly opposed to a riot, and, we will take the appropriate steps should something like that happen. We don't anticipate that. We anticipate it being peaceful, and I know that the young people that have put this together, I've spoken to them personally, they are sincere in wanting just a peaceful event. So we're optimistic that we'll be able to pull this off, and that'll be starting off, I believe, at Library Plaza. People will be walking up to City Hall, then out to the police station, kind of making a triangle there, and that's the extent of it. Kicks off at noon. So best if you're not interested in attending, just to kind of steer clear of that area. We'll have a police presence, but just the traffic will be tough to get through.
I have a cousin who works in Danbury, and she was asking me about this yesterday. She was concerned about safety, and I said I wouldn't worry. If you pair so many different factors, Danbury is a smaller city. The de-escalation tactics that the Danbury Police Department uses that we talk about all the time, they're fantastic at that. The community outreach that happens in this city is amazing. So the relationship is not there's not an animosity here. That's the sense that I get that there are in some larger cities. So I'm optimistic as well.
Yeah, I mean it's something we'll have to watch. It won't be our community that causes problems, right? I mean, what we have seen is that, for example, I spoke to the mayor of Waterbury. We're pretty good buddies, and he was saying his protest took off nice and it was peaceful and it was great. And then once those people left, it was all these other new people that showed up from out of town that really kind of caused a ruckus, and they ended up arresting 28 of them. But we don't anticipate that. We think our folks have this under control, and our police officers will be there to facilitate this. And I want to applaud Chief Ridenour for doing a good job and working hard on trying to make this a peaceful event. I think I haven't heard one person across this country in any of my travels say that what happened to George Floyd was okay. And it's not okay, right? At about 8 million different levels. And we know that this was straight up murder that was filmed on a phone camera, and we cannot have this in the United States of America.
I would agree completely. Now, yesterday, I'm becoming a little bit of a nuisance to Chief because he's asked me to go through the proper channels, and I just keep calling him. But so yesterday I called. I wanted to get him on the show, but you and he had already released a statement as in terms of the George Floyd situation, and I think you worded it in an amazing way, the two of you. And I found, and I wrote about this yesterday at I95Rock. I don't know .com. I don't know if you saw it, but being an African American and being a decorated police chief the way he is, this is you got to applaud him for making any statement. That's how I feel. I feel like he's in a difficult situation, serving two communities, going through a terrible tragedy right now.
The chief we were talking about him last night. He's a wonderful man, and he just is a straight shooter, and this is how he feels. We have tremendous communication and a really solid friendship too. On top of that, and I respect him and admire him. And he will say what's on his mind. And there are times when I go to him and say, "Am I out of line here? What do you think?" And he's got great advice and counsel that way. So he feels strongly, as I do, that there's really no excuse for the events that happened in Minneapolis, but also strongly that, rioting is not the answer. So I think everybody's kind of torn that way, and we've got to readjust and redirect back to peaceful protesting so that after this, meaningful reform can come of it. It's all a waste of time if nothing happens again, right?
Right.
And so there are things that need to be done. There are tough decisions that need to be addressed and tough policies that should be put in place. And that's going to take some gumption and hard work by people. But if everything blows up into a riot, then people are saying, forget it, it's not worth it. So I think we've got work to do. But I do admire our chief. We're lucky to have him.
So my daughter was driving to visit us. She lives in Bristol. She's driving 84. And, of course, it was Sunday morning, and the protesters were out in the middle of 84. She couldn't go anywhere, so she pulled off the road.
I love this story.
And she parked in a safe place and got her sign out and protested.
I love that.
There you go.
I love that.
Not really planning on it, and then when she was able to go along with the rest of her day and it was unclogged, she drove to the house. Now, you know what? And then I looked on the Waterbury Police Department Facebook page, and the chief said, thank you to our residents and visitors who participated in today's demonstration, who were peaceful, cooperative, and did an amazing job expressing their concerns about police violence, systemic racism, and the tragic death of George Floyd. I mean, I thought that was a noble gesture on his part.
Yeah, I mean, they had an issue at the end, more towards the evening, of some people that refused to leave the street and that they were not from the area, and that's where all those arrests were made. But the community itself, the organic protest, was very well organized and well attended, and was peaceful. So that's what we hope for tomorrow. There's somebody else planning something for Saturday, and somebody wants to do something Friday, and I'm like, okay, well, at some point we've got to move beyond the protesting to actual policy changes and action. So, but at this point, I think it's right and proper, and I certainly support the young people that put this together, and I applaud them.
That's the same thing about these rioting things. As you said, it's very often not people that are actually associated with the protesting. They just show up to cause a ruckus after the fact, and then it sullies the message. From an outsider's perspective, if you're not there, it looks as if the protesters themselves are doing the rioting. Yeah.
Right, and that's the goal, right? So, I mean, it's people on the left, it's people on the far left, there's people on the far right. They show up, and they're there just to cause chaos. They don't care. And there's this whole other group of people that just want anarchy. They really could care less about what the issues of the day are. And so those people we have to marginalize and get back to the residents of the Danbury community that feel strongly about certain things, and have those difficult conversations sometimes that you need to have here locally as we reflect on what happened 1,000 miles away, and want to make sure that it doesn't happen here.
There you go. Well, it was kind of a heavy one, but it had to be said because tomorrow's the day the protest is happening, and we hope everybody does it safely and gets to speak their piece.
I mean, just one thing if I could say.
Go ahead.
I mean, we're still in a pandemic, guys. All right, so there are people like myself who have a suppressed immune system. I have been very honest about my medical condition.
Sure.
And I got to be really careful in large groups of people for an extended period of time. So if everybody participating in this could remember that for everybody, wear your mask, make sure that you're trying to stand 6 feet apart from folks, that would be very, very helpful, because the last thing we would want to come out of this is a bunch of people getting infected. And for people like me that are in that vulnerable population, we have to be extra, extra careful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it seems as if the news cycle has moved people off the fact that this COVID situation is still happening.
Right. And
Yeah, I mean, we had 3 deaths in the last 4 days. We've had another dozen or so cases. I mean, it's there. It's happening.
Yeah, just because the news is about something else doesn't mean it's not happening.
Right.
Danbury Mayor Mark Boughton. Wait, did you see Space Force yet?
I have not.
I liked it.
I'm just reading the reviews, and they're not good.
Listen,
I did not like it.
It was
I
a
did
slow
not like
build.
it.
I give everything, 3 episodes. Which, by the way, I tried Game of Thrones. I'd never seen it. Terrible. Skip it if you haven't seen it. I hated it. But I gave Space Force 3 episodes, and it builds, and it gets better and better, and it's awesome and hilarious. John Malkovich is amazing. Boom.
It gets better as it goes on, then I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
There you go. Your endorsement means everything to me.
Love it. Love it. Love everything that's being said right
guys,
now.
and I'll see you Thursday.
All right, there you go. Danbury Mayor Mark Boughton. Thanks.